In a picturesque village, a small girl named Susan B. Anthony lived with a very interesting and bright personality, sheltering sky-high dreams to do great things and make a lasting influence in the world. Born in 1820, she witnessed women's unequal treatment from a young age, such as being denied an education and having her rights limited. Young Susan looks at a "no entry" sign outside a school. She was driven by a desire to picture a future in which girls and boys had equal possibilities. Susan grew up with steady and strong courage and a strong desire for a formal decision on something. Despite being denied education, property ownership, and the opportunity to vote, Susan believed in women's equality and worked hard to bring about change. This way, she fought for women's voting rights, specifically the right to vote. Susan was unstoppable in her campaign for women's rights, while facing many uncomfortable situations and challenges. She knew that change, no matter how small, required patience and a strong desire. Despite her faults, Susan remained confident and brave, which will be very interesting to future generations. Susan passionately addresses the audience while encountering unfavorable looks, because she knows that equality is not a threat. It's a promise of a better world for all. Susan began a statewide tour with impassioned talks, pushing women to vigorously defend and assert their rights. Faced with criticism and the prospect of being imprisoned for her convictions, she refused to be silenced. Her voice became a guiding beacon, informing people about the critical relevance of women's rights. Susan's consistent efforts ultimately paid off. The 19th Amendment was passed in 1920, marking a watershed point in the history of women's voting rights. Susan's patience and careful labor had laid the groundwork for this massive transformation. Children are listening to Grandma Susan's wisdom. Susan told the children that being terrified does not preclude them from fighting for what they believe in. It suggests they're onto something big. Susan B. Anthony's story communicates an important lesson about the value of patience. She soaked up like a towel the knowledge that greatness usually comes out visible slowly, and with a steady commitment, what seemed impossible to accomplish with effort or reach with work becomes doable. So, dear children, let Susan's story shake your hearts with a loud sound to remind you of the power of patience. Without thinking or caring about the extent of your goals, strongly encourage patience and strength. Who knows? You might just change the world like Susan.